Hello everyone. I Dr. Souvik, faculty in the Department of Civil Engineering, Swami Vivekananda Institute of Science and Technology, Govindpur. Welcome you all again to the lecture series. Prepare for your examination preparation on the subject Energy Science and Engineering. In the previous lecture of Module 2, I have discussed that what are the fossil fuels are available, mainly your coal, oil, and natural gas, and oil shale and oil sand. Also, I have discussed the negative impact of using or harnessing energy from such kind of sources. That is basically your air pollution, water pollution, depletion of resources, because these fossil fuels are basically your finite kind of resources. So we need to, in the present lecture, I will discuss about the remedies and the alternatives what we can select for sustainable environment to the fossil fuels. So let's begin. Now, first concern for sustainable development, if you remember in previous lecture, I have discussed that there are main three pillars are there for sustainable development. The first one is your environment, second is your economic, and the third one is your societal equity. Now, to create a sustainable future, we need to protect the environment. But the burning of fossil fuel releases large amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, leading to global warming and climate change. So there is a necessity that we should consider some alternatives to the fossil fuel, which will not create emission of carbon dioxide or emission of any kind of greenhouse gases, which will be a clean technology like renewable energy sources. Also, we know that the fossil fuels are basically finite resources. That means with the after a certain time the resource will be depleted. So here we need to think about some other kind of resources which will be for infinite time, like your sun radiations, wind energy. Also, from the geopolitical point of view, we know that for oil purchase, we are mostly dependent on oil-rich countries like Middle East, Venezuela, or Russia. But due to some geopolitical scenario, if any country stops supplying the crude oil to India, we will be in a big trouble. That's why we need to think a way that we should depend on our own energy, and we should maintain a energy security so that in a time of for a critical time, we don't need to depend on other countries. Also, as the environment is concerned, and we are human being living in the environment. So, if the environment is polluted, then what will happen? Our health will also deteriorate, and our expectancy of life will be decreased. So, concern is there the public health, and also we need to maintain a good air quality so that our future generation can breathe a fresh air. As well as the most of the people in Delhi right now, they are suffering from lungs diseases, that is due to the very bad quality of the air. And also for economic sustainability, renewables energy creates green jobs. That means as the renewable energy is a new technology, so it can create opportunity for researchers, for technology curious persons to contribute in renewable energy technologies. So these are the basic necessity of the to find the alternative of fossil fuels. Now, in the previous, in the upcoming slides, I will discuss about what are the available alternatives available for your instead of your fossil fuels. The first one is your biomass. Biomass basically refers to the organic material like wood, agricultural residues, and animal waste that can be used to generate energy. And energy means we generally consider about the electricity, or it can be also used to generate heat for cooking purposes or to make warm the inner environment of a home. So, for examples of biomass are basically your ethanol, biodiesel, biogas, which can replace the product of fossil fuels like gasoline, diesel, and natural gas. We can also there are also biomass power plants which facilitate the burn organic materials to generate electricity. And the advantage of biomass is that it is a renewable source. It does not produce as much emission like burning of the fossil fuels, and it's also reducing the reliance on fossil fuels. Now, the challenges are there also in the case of your biomass, because the environmental benefits depends on land use, crop production, and the impact of biomass harvesting on ecosystem. Second alternative fossil fuel, which is right now widely used in the world, is basically your wind energy. And the basic principle to harness electricity from wind is that to use the kinetic energy of the wind to move a turbine. And if the turbine will rotate, then we can generate electricity. Now, advantage of wind energy is that it is abundant and renewable, and it produces no emissions during operation. Because suppose this is your wind tower, and here a propeller is installed, and if the wind hit the propeller, it will rotate, and it will also rotate the turbine attached to it. This portion is known as your nacelle. So when the turbine will rotate, it will generate electricity. And in this case, there is no emission. So it is a completely clean energy with zero emission of greenhouse gases. But there are some few challenges also there, that the need for large land areas, because we cannot harness a huge amount of electrical energy from a single wind tower. We need to install multiple wind tower, and for this we require a large area. So there is and as we know, due to urbanization, there is a scarcity of land. So only in seaside, we generally establish your windmills. The third alternative of the fossil fuels can be considered as a solar energy. So the basic principle how the solar energy used, basically it captures the sun's sunlight or the radiation coming from the sun using a photovoltaic cell and or solar thermal collectors to generate electricity or heat. The photovoltaic cell basically generate electricity, and the thermal collectors basically we can use in solar heater for cooking purposes. Here the thermal collector absorb the radiation of the sun, and it become hotter, and we can use this heat to for our cooking purposes also. Now, advantage of the solar energy is that it is widely available, that the sun I think the till the end of the earth sun will be there, and especially in sunny regions like the region close to equator. And it has also zero emission energy source, so it is also a completely clean energy technology. But there are some challenges of solar energy is that high initial cost of establishment and to establish the infrastructure, land use, and intermittency due to the day and night cycle. Because if you install a solar panel or solar or you construct a solar farm, then only you can harness the energy only in the daytime, because the nighttime the sun is not available. So we need to store the electricity generated at the daytime, and we need to use it in the night time. Also there are some limitation is that is your geographical location, because we can use the sun's radiation only where the radiation is higher. If the radiation is higher, then we can get more electricity. So it is only effective where like the zones close to your equator, but we cannot use in the like close to northern pole or southern pole. So in that situation, we cannot use the solar panel, or we cannot harness electricity from the solar energy. So there is a limitation of the geographical location. We have also alternative for the fossil fuels is nuclear energy, which is basically very effective, because a small amount of atom can generate huge amount of electricity. But this is also a renewable, a non-renewable energy source. Now, the principle of to harness electricity from nuclear energy is that it involves the use of nuclear reaction, typically fission, because it is well established. Also, we can harness uh, your electricity from nuclear energy by fusion technology, by using your helium. We can generate heat and also electricity from nuclear power. The advantage is that it is a low carbon energy sources and can generate large amounts of continuous power. That's why for a long-term power generation vehicles like your submarines, when they are drowned into in the sea for they take a dive for in the sea for 6 months or so. So in that case, we can also use nuclear power submarine, which is be in a stealth mode. And also there are another advantage of that, we get some byproduct of nuclear waste, which is very much useful in medical science. Basically, the isotopes we get from the as a waste from the nuclear energy. But there are some challenges also there. That is the main challenges is the disposal of the waste, because during the operation after when the nuclear fuel rod is burned, after that the waste is very much dangerous, as it is radioactive. So in that case, we need to construct a kind of facility so that the radiation can be contaminated. That's why we need to store this kind of waste underground or under sea. We store this. So that is the only disadvantage of nuclear energy. It's waste. Another alternative to fossil fuel is wave and tidal energy. We can harness the electricity from wave or tidal energy. Like suppose if this is a estuarian or the sea zone. Here the sea is present and here is your land. So in high tide, what will happen? Water will come in this direction, and in low tide, water will go in this direction. So if we create a channel here, and if we take the water inside the land during the high tide, and we install a barrage which can control the movement of the water. So during the low tide time, the water will go down, go back to the sea, and this place will be vacuum. So then we can release the water and we can install the turbine in this path so that the movement of the or the kinetic energy of the water can rotate the turbine and we can harness electricity. Similarly, we can also use the wave. Like as you know, the wave is going like in that way. So if we can install, this is a basically a sinusoidal kind of wave, and if we install a device which can generate electricity by the upward and downward movement of the wave. So basically here one setup is there, one you say generator is there, which will store static energy during the up and down of the movement of the wave. So from this also we can generate electricity. The advantage is that this is a predictable and reliable energy sources, because we know that we know when the moon will come too close to the earth, when the high tide will happen, and when the low tide will happen. So in the time and we can control. So it is a predictable energy and reliable sources of energy, because the tidal activity is for infinite time, as well as the wave will always there will be wave in the ocean. So this is a very reliable source of energy, but the disadvantage is that it is basically till now it is only developed countries can harness right now harness electricity from this kind of wave energy, and it has a very high cost right now, and it has also potential impacts on marine ecosystem, because whatever the infrastructure we will install in the marine environment, it can disrupt the life of the habitat of that zone. So, and the another is the disadvantage is that it can only be installed in the coastal region due to the because wave and tide available in sea only. The another recent technology which has come into play right now, it is basically hydrogen fuel. So hydrogen can be used as a clean fuel either through combustion or in fuel cell, or producing only water as a byproduct. It is work like that. If you take hydrogen, it will interact with oxygen and it will create water vapor, and we can steam this water vapor, and also from the chemical reaction between hydrogen and oxygen the heat will generate, and we can convert the heat into electricity. And it is a clean technology because in this process only water is released and few amount of heat is released as a byproduct. So it is a clean technology. Advantage is that it is a very high energy density. That's mean if we install a large area with a windmill or solar panel, suppose sorry suppose with solar farm or your windmill, then in that case in whole area can create suppose 1 kilowatt of power, but a single atom can generate this kind of power. So the energy density is very higher for hydrogen fuel, as well as for your nuclear energy also. The energy density, that's mean from a very smaller amount we can generate a very large amount of energy. So that's why we always right now we are focusing the vehicles or everything based on your hydrogen fuel or hydrogen cell. And the challenges the hydrogen fuel is facing right now is that it is largely based on the natural gas with carbon emissions, and infrastructure for hydrogen distribution is still under development. That's mean it is under research stage. There are lots of understanding is required to develop and to use it as a source or the alternative of the fossil fuels. So this is the end of the third lecture on for the module 2. And in this lecture, we basically learned about the alternatives of the fossil fuels like your biomass, wind energy, wave and tidal energy, nuclear energy, uh, and also hydrogen fuel. So in the next class, we will know about carbon footprint and other aspects. Thank you.